Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Aliya Hanannisa, and today I will be the presenter of today's topic, which is improving students' reading skill through collaborative learning. So let's start with the first. Okay. So, language is a tool for communication, and English is one of the most widely used language in this world. Among four essential skills, listening, speaking, reading, and writing, reading plays a significant and important role in gaining information and knowledge. However, many students still struggle with their reading. They find it hard to understand vocabulary, pronunciation correctly, and stay motivated. Therefore, this research focuses on improving students through collaborative learning, where students work together in groups to understand the text better. Okay, so here is the research question. Is there a significant improvement in students' reading skill after being taught through collaborative learning? Okay, so here is the research objective. So this research has three goals. First is to find out if collaborative learning could improve students' reading skill, and then to observe students behave and perform during collaborative learning using the learning together technique, and to measure students' development in cognitive, affective, and social interaction. Okay, so now we have the literature review and related theories. So let's look what the experts say about reading. So here, as you can see, Urquhart defined reading as understanding language from written forms. Morellon says reading is not passive. It requires active thinking and skill. Spears adds that unfamiliar words can make reading frustrating. Many students also lose interest in reading because of complex text, lack of exposure, or poor vocabulary. Another big factor in the environment is students surrounded by English in daily life will likely understand text more easily than those who are not. So, how do we solve this? One answer is through collaborative learning. So now I will explain to you about collaborative learning. So, collaborative learning means learning together, not alone. According to Berkeley, it's working in small groups to achieve a common academic goal. Tan explains that it encourages dialogue, shared authority between teacher and students, and builds a more democratic and open learning environment. So, in this study, the research used in the Learning Together or LT model developed by Johnson and Johnson. And students are divided into small mixed ability group. So each group gets the same task and encouraged to support one another. The goal is not only to complete the task, but also to make sure every member understands. So here we have the methodology used in this research. So this was a classroom action research, or CIR, done in 2 cycles. So this research used the Chemist and McTaggart model, which has 4 stages: planning, acting, observing, and reflecting. So planning is basically designing the activity and materials. Acting is implementing the learning activity. Observing is watching how students respond. Reflecting is analyzing the results to improve the next cycle. So the participants were 36 of 7th grade students from class 7F at SMPN 5 Cimahi. This research lasted for 8 sessions, including pre-test and post-test. And then there were 2 kinds of data collected. First is quantitative. It's from students' test score, pre-test and post-test, and then qualitative from classroom observation and interviews. So the instrument included teaching materials such as lesson plan, text, and visuals, and then there's assessment tools for students' understanding or cognitive, behavior or affective, and their reading performance. So the process also included group discussion, text analysis, and presentations by the students. Okay, so here, as you can see, here is the pre-test results. So before the collaborative learning was implemented, the teacher expected the students to take a pre-test. So as you can see, the results here, the minimum score or the lowest score was 55, the highest score was 75, and the average score was 64.81. So this showed that many students struggled to understand the reading text. Their reading skills such as fluency, vocabulary, and pronunciation was still low and need to be improved. Also, their motivation to read was also still low, and they found out it's hard to connect the reading material. So here is cycle 1, as you can see, it's first cycle. So in the first cycle, students were randomly grouped into teams of 5 to 6. So the focus was on group reading, active discussion, and interaction. The teacher acted as a guide, not a lecturer. So the students read aloud shared ideas and helped each other understand the text. However, the results were still below the expected target. So as you can see here, the result. So the cognitive achievement is 17% from the expected target, and then the reading skills is still really low, which is 14% by the expected target, and then the affective was 67% from the target. So this result suggested to improve in attitude, but reading comprehension and test scores needed more work. Okay, now after cycle 1, there's cycle 2 results, as you can see. In cycle 2, the researchers made some changes. Groups were made heterogeneous based on cycle 1 results, so mixing high and low achievers. Students were encouraged to lead their discussion. More interaction was allowed between students and the teacher. So the results here, as you can see, so the cognitive achievement went up from 17% to 19%, and the reading skill went up pretty much from 14% to 19%. And then the effective score really went up from 67% to 97%. So the effective results greatly improved, and students became more confident and motivated. The overall performance also went up slightly. And after that, we have the post-test result. After all the treatment given, the teacher expected the students to take a post-test. So here are the results. The lowest score went up to 68, the highest score went up to 80, and the average score also went up from 64.81 to 75.56. So it went up pretty much. So compared to the pretest, this was a significant improvement. This showed that collaborative learning helps students understand the text, become more fluent, and more confident in reading. So here, as you can see, this is the comparison of the first cycle and the second cycle. So let's compare. First, the cognitive from 17% to 19%. The reading skills increased from 14% to 19%. And then the affective increased from 67% to 97%. So the biggest growth was in student attitude and participation. They enjoyed reading more, they were more motivated, and supported one another. This supports the theory that learning is more effective in collaborative and social environment. So here is the teaching implication. So the research shows that collaborative learning encourages active participation and peer support, and then it helps students practice more naturally. It improves not just academic skills, but also confidence and communication. It makes the class more student-centered and less teacher-dependent. And students were able to ask questions, discuss text, and correct their own reading, something that doesn't always happen in traditional classes, right? So we've come to the conclusion. To conclude, collaborative learning, especially using the learning together method, successfully improved reading skills. Students performed better in comprehension, pronunciation, and vocabulary. They were also more motivated and engaged. Group work allowed them to share ideas more freely, discuss new words, and help each other to improve. Okay, I think that's all that I can discuss with you today. I hope you understand what I just delivered, and I'm sorry if there's any mistakes I made. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.